Now, for the 135th time, I'm going to try this. I think I've about got it figured out. Jeannie, my name is Brenda, and I've been told, not to know if it's true or not, that when I tell some of my mama stories, especially to the patients on the cancer floor that I volunteer on, and to some of the families who are having a difficult time over at the hospice house, that they are pretty funny. My mother was a funny lady. She and I went to church together for the last 17 years of her life. She passed this past December at the age of 91. What I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about our last road trip. Mom and I went to this church that was about 16 miles away from us. It was on a hilly, crooked road. Every Sunday she'd call and she'd say, "Are you churching today?" And I'd say, "I am if you are." We only missed if one of us had a broken bone or were really, really sick. She'd come pick me up. We'd go to McDonald's, get our nourishment, and we'd head out. Some days we'd be driving 25. Sometimes she might accelerate and think she was Mario Andretti, and we might be doing 70. We could go from 70 to 5, and never mind who was behind us. Somehow or another, we always made it to church without incident. After attending church each Sunday, we would drive through the cemetery. And that's where all my mama's people are buried, and my daddy's people, and my son. And as we'd travel through the cemetery, she'd look over at where my daddy and son lay, and she'd say, "Do you think the boys need a haircut today?" And we'd decide if they need to be trimmed or anything like that done. My mother always carried enough supplies in the back of her car for any need at a cemetery. She was prepared. After we left the cemetery, we'd get to the road, and she would say, "Well, what are your plans for the day?" And I'd say, "Well, whatever yours are, Mama, that's just what we're going to do. We'll just do what you do." She'd say, "Well, I got a full tank of gas. Have you got your phone charger?" And I'd say, "Yes, ma'am." And off we'd go. This particular Sunday was the 3 Sundays before she passed away. Sitting on her two little pillows and her mirror cocked over the way it was that nobody could see out of but her, and you better leave it alone. We turned right and headed toward Walcott. I thought maybe we were going to see Miss Baldine or some of the cousins, but we passed all them, got up to the next intersection, and she turned right, headed toward Paragould. I thought, oh boy, we're going to go to Paragould, we're going to get something to eat, and I'm going to get to go to Belk. And I hadn't been to Belk in a long time. Thank gosh, I put my card in my purse and I had a little extra money. I was so excited. We passed the eating places. We passed Belk. And I knew better than to ask my mama what was going on. We drove through the next intersection that would have taken us back to home in a quick manner, and she passed it and kept going straight. And we went straight and we went straight. We went over the overpass. We get to the bridge that takes us into the Arkansas Missouri line, and we're in Missouri. And she looks over at me finally, and with a little sly smile, she says, "I bet you wonder what we're doing." I said, "Well, I had give it a little bit of thought, but I figured I'd get out when you got out." So she says, "Have you ever ate at Mr. T's?" And I said, "No, can't say that I have." I said, "Have you?" She said, "Yeah, I ate there with your brother and sister-in-law one time." Next thing I know, we're making a little turn and we're turning into Mr. T's parking lot. Now, mind you, this is a Sunday. A little 91-year-old lady and a legally blind lady, and 71. Here we head into Mr. T's. Mr. T's is not only an eating place, but it's also a liquor store. Well, we get in there, we get our food, we eat, and then Mama decides that she wants some of those little scratch off things. She gives me the money, I get them, she scratches them off. She won $6. Then she said, "Now, Brenda, you save those tickets because we want to make sure we look in the paper and make certain that they're not there, or they're there tomorrow, or they're not." I said, "Mama, that's not the same numbers, I don't think." "Well, go up there and ask that lady." So I went up there and I asked the lady. She said, no, that's a whole different thing. I said, well, we got $6. What can we buy that's going to show up in the paper tomorrow or whatever day it is? She gave it to me, and I put them in my pocket and hold them for Mama, because by that time, Mama had decided she needed a jug of wine. Now, she just had the little boys going all over the place to get that jug of wine, and she finally gets one. He puts it in a cart for her because it's more than she or I both should lift. She gets to the counter to pay for it, and then she decides, well, I might need a small, tiny, just a little bottle of whiskey. You know, it is toddy season. And when you kids get sick and get to coughing and congestion, I can send that toddy over to y'all, and y'all can just warm it up, and I can just keep it made up for you. You know, she's giving the recipe to the lady behind the cash register, and finally we check out. Go to the car, figure out how to get that bottle of wine up over the shopping cart and down into the floorboard of the car. Then I look and she's going back, and I said, where you going now, Mama? She said, oh, I need to ask that lady in there a question. I said, okay. So being the dutiful daughter that I am, I followed her in. In a little while, here come the little lady from the cash register, and she said, so you're going to see Lulu, are you? I look at my mama and I say, Lulu who? Mama didn't say anything. She just looked at the lady and she said, now you give her the directions, because even though she's legally blind and can't see, she's got a real good memory, and she'll get us up the road, and I can tell her where we're at, and then she can move us along. The lady says you go so many miles up the road, and then you turn right on the NNW, whatever. You go 2 bridges, and you go over the gravel, and then when you get to the house on the corner, with all the shrubs and the deer, you make a right, and you go down, and then you go over a bridge, and right there'll be a road to your right. Go up just a little bit, not far, and you look over on your left, and there's Lulu Cemetery. I should have known it would be a cemetery. I said, as we're driving along and I'm giving her directions, I said, Mama, why are we going to Lulu Cemetery? She said, well, that's where Miss Ruby's buried. I should have known that. I said, Mother, Miss Ruby's been dead 25 years. I said, what? Well, I just want to see if she's got some flowers. 'Cause you know, in the trunk of our car, we've got all that cemetery supplies plus flowers in case anybody doesn't have any. So we get up there, we pull in the cemetery, and it is a big cemetery out in the middle of nowhere. I said, Mama, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll down my window, and I'm going to holler, Miss Ruby. And if you see her wave or the ground kick anywhere, that's where we'll go. But I'm not walking row by row in this cemetery. She just kind of looked at me, and we started driving, and we drove around each section, and she'd say, oh, I remember Miss Ruby talking about them. I said, well, you reckon they're neighbors now? Then we come up on this monument. Mother said, whoa, they must have had a lot more money than Ruby said they did, because look at that monument. Because we are a monument. We just know everything there is to know about a monument. Finally, I looked at Mama and I said, I'm kind of tired. She says, well, I guess we need to head home. Mind you, we had left about 9:15. I got home at 6:30. There's more to this story that involves the wine, but I'll just share it with you another time since there's a time limit on this, Jeannie. I would really like to fill my bucket list item and just check it off totally by being able to come on the stage with you and tell some of my mama stories. I love you, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.